Hello, everybody, and welcome to our weekly discussion of Game of Thrones. So we don't have an official name for this, so our very creative title, until we can come up with something better, is Game of Thrones Season 6 Discussion. I mean, don't try to steal it from us. It's ours. We've laid claim to it. But that's the name of our discussion show, and we're going to be talking about Game of Thrones. Of course, Season 6, Episode 1, The Red Woman, just aired on Sunday. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to break down the episode and kind of what happened throughout it, and then talk a little bit about what we think's coming and how things are developing. So I am your host and editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast. My name is Tyson Gifford. And joining us, as always, is the indomitable Will Robrick.
Hi.
Okay, so let's kick right into it. So I kind of ordered things by region to kind of keep us flowing, saving the kind of bigger things for later. Let's start off with what's going on right now with Jorah and Daario. So Jorah and Daario are out looking for Daenerys, and on their way, they discover some bones. They say, "Is that sheep bones?" And Jorah's like, "Nope, ram."
Ram.
Just giving you the idea of, like, you know, Drogon's killing big prey. And on, you know, they're wondering, you know, you think that was, I believe Daario said, "You think that was our friend?" And Jorah said, "I don't know anything that dragons that could melt a ram's horn." So
Yeah, pretty much.
Give you an idea of how hot that fire is too. So
some hot fire.
Yeah. So then they see this huge brown ring in a field around a little green spot, basically showing that by seeing that, Jorah is able to figure out that's Dothraki. That's a horde of Dothraki running around in a circle there. And so he goes and checks out the center, and sure enough, he finds Dany's ring.
Yep. So they get a clue about what happened to her.
Well, they pretty much know. She got caught by the Dothraki. So, in addition to that, Jorah, his grayscale spreading. It's covering his entire forearm now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got to get some, like, lotion for that or something.
It really does look like that, doesn't it? It looks like psoriasis or something.
It does. It looks like, oh shit, I have grayscale on my knuckles.
That's where you get the Game of Thrones, Hannibal crossover. It puts the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose again. And as they're on the search for Daenerys, let's move right on to Daenerys and talk about what's happening with her. So did you enjoy the little Dothraki conversation as they were on the road to?
Yeah. That was charming. Those Dothraki.
Basically asking if the curtain matches the drapes.
Those Dothraki, such charming fellows. Oh boy. Those rapscallions.
It was also really funny when they actually got to the Khal of the region, and they're like, he said, there aren't many pleasures greater than seeing a beautiful woman naked for the first time. And then, like, all his, like, moon riders or whatever are all like,
oh, what about, like, taming a horse?
Or, like, killing another Khal. They're like naming all these things, and he's like, "Yes, but seeing a naked woman is still top 5.
Yeah. It's like it's still within the top 5 best things ever. Like, it's like, shut up, I'm making the list here.
So that was really funny, and Daenerys finally was able to assert herself properly after failing by naming all of her titles and getting no respect from that. But then she goes on to say that she had been married to Khal Drogo, and she kind of gets them to back away. They cut her ropes free. They show her respect. They say nobody's going to sleep with her because it's forbidden to sleep with the widow of a Khal. And so that's like, okay, yeah, everything's good there. And then she says, "Oh, so can you take me back to Meereen?" And they say, "Nope, there's only one place for Khaleesi, whose Khal is dead, and that's in Vas Dothrak, the capital city of the Dothraki.
I guess she goes to, like, some home for, like, widows of dead Khals or something.
It's Florida. So Dany's on her way to Florida. Now, a few little details on this. It's kind of been mentioned briefly in the show and in the books and stuff. Not a spoiler, because it's been kind of mentioned briefly in the background. Just, it's not something people pay attention to much, but the group of the widows of the Khals are called Dashkalim, and they rule that city. So they don't just they're not just there in Vice Dothrak, but they're like the leaders of that city. They run it, and that's where she's going to join them, I guess. So until she can find a way to get out of there, so that she can try to get back on the Iron Throne. At least she's kind of going to another position of power and probably greater safety than she had, back in Meereen.
Right.
So that's where, Daenerys is right now. Next up, in Daenerys' absence, we have, Varys and Tyrion.
Yep, trying to keep, peace in Meereen.
And eat babies.
Yeah.
Tyrion's bad Valyrian almost gets him to a poor mother on the street to think that he's trying to eat her child when he's really just trying to give the mother money to feed the child. But
that was funny.
That was pretty funny.
That was funny. It's like you walk like a rich person.
Yeah.
Like, what? It's like, oh, you walk like you own the ground you're walking on.
So yeah, that's pretty funny. And the kind of two interesting things that happened with them. Well, three kind of actually. One was that we saw somebody preaching for the Red God. This is the faith that Melisandre is a part of, as well as I can't remember the guy's name, who's in the Brothers Without Borders or whatever that group is called. No, Brothers Without Banners, not Borders. So it's part of that faith. And they're like inciting kind of action against the Sons of the Harpies. So it's not going to be against Daenerys' interests, but it's like, okay, yeah, riots against other riots.
Yeah.
So Tyrion recognizes that's kind of an issue, but they keep going on. Varys says that his birds, which is what he calls his little boys that he uses to get information, are out on the lookout to find out who the leader of the Sons of the Harpy is. And seems like it's going to probably be resolved pretty quickly, at least figuring out who's leading them. Because you got somebody like Varys in charge there, who's like a master of secrets, and that's not going to stay secret so long. So that was kind of cool, just kind of like the way they alluded to that. Like Varys he isn't even concerned that it's going to take long. It's like, yeah, we'll flush them out.
Yep. I love that. I love Varys. He's so awesome. Yeah. Varys is just like, I've set my birds out, and soon they'll return singing songs of men in golden masks.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Varys is awesome, and Varys and Tyrion together are like super awesome.
Yeah, they're super awesome. These Sons of the Harpy people have no freaking clue what they're dealing with now.
Yeah, they got Daenerys is good at inspiring the masses and kind of like creating these legions and stuff, but she's not very good at governing. But Tyrion and Varys are like amazing at governing. So like these kind of like city problems and stuff, like, yeah, this is going to be kind of an awesome solution to that. But they do have an issue, which is the other interesting thing on their plot line, which is somebody went and burnt all the ships.
Oh yeah, they don't want anybody leaving apparently, which that's an omen, because that means that the Sons of the Harpy are planning to do something big if they're trying to strand everybody in Meereen,
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to make a big move soon.
Yeah.
This is obvious.
that's kind of what's happened with Varys and Tyrion. Now over in Bravos, we have Arya Stark, who's probably my favorite character, and she didn't have too much going on in this episode.
Happened. She got beat up, and then that was it. That was all the Arya Stark you get in this episode.
But there is some implication to what's happening, which is that she's basically being trained to fight blind.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Arya is Dare Dragon.
So she's being trained to become Daredevil.
Yeah, I said she's Dare Dragon. So yeah, she's so she's attacked by the waif while begging. She's blind, as she was before, and so that's what's going on with Arya. Not too much.
I felt bad for Arya because like the girl, like, you know, she stops after she beats her and she says, "See you again tomorrow." And I'm like, holy crap, you know, how much she just got the crap kicked out of her for no reason. And then it's going to happen again tomorrow?
Well, it's going to train her up, so it's going to make her stronger, which is really cool.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to see Arya, the waif, which is the faceless girl that's attacking her. I'm looking forward to her serving as Arya's stick, basically. So, back in Westeros, we have the Boltons, who, that was kind of a funny scene, kind of like a messed up character scene where you see Ramsay mourning his girl.
Yeah, that was kind of like, it's interesting to see like Ramsay care about anybody, really.
And then he ruins it all.
You didn't even think like he had the capacity to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
His reason for loving her is that she didn't fear him because there was nothing he could do that was worse than what the dogs did to her already.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true love for Ramsay.
That's true love for Ramsay. Oh, she's not afraid of me because... Oh, she's not afraid of me. True love.
Yeah. So, also, that scene ends with the Ramsay servant saying, or Meister, I believe, saying, "Well, what should we do with her body? Do you want her buried? Do you want her burned?" And he's like, "Nope, she's good meat for the hounds.
Yeah,
don't waste it.
Don't waste it."
So there's sentiment gone.
Pretty much. That's Ramsay's in a nutshell, you know.
So
much.
Still with the Boltons, Roose is putting a little bit of fear into Ramsay by pointing out Ramsay's shortcomings, what he did to Sansa. The shortcomings not being what he did to Sansa, but the fact that what he did to Sansa left to them losing her.
Right, exactly.
And saying that, they need her in order to hold the North. And now they basically have enemies of the throne and the other northern houses. And without gathering the other northern houses together, they're fucked. And Roose makes sure to remind Ramsay that, hopefully I'll have another male heir.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, it's like, derp, Ramsay. Thanks for losing Sansa. That was basically it. It's like, he gets chided over that, so So we cut to Sansa and Reek.
Oh, well, before we do that, I wanted to say real quick also that the scenes between Ramsay and Roose also gave us, full confirmation now that Stannis is indeed dead. So we saw Brienne swing the sword, but we didn't see it, and so there are all people going maybe he's not dead, maybe she was stopped mid-swing, maybe something else happened, but no, they found his body, he's dead.
Well, I mean, they showed the preview before the episode showed the recap of what happened, and after watching the recap, she was pretty, she was pretty on board the whole "you're dead" thing when she swung that sword. She was like, "Yeah, now you die."
But we didn't know. We didn't know somebody else could have stopped it. There's lots of things that could happen, but we got actual confirmation. It's kind of weird for them to cut away on something like that on Game of Thrones.
It's kind of weird.
they usually show it all.
Yeah, they don't usually shy away from like being graphic either. Like there's a scene in this very episode that is pretty graphic. They don't cut away from what happens.
Yeah. But we'll get to that part later. Let's talk about Sansa, Reek, Brienne, and Podrick.
Whoa, you just spoiled the scene.
So Sansa and Reek, they're freezing their balls off. I mean,
what?
Because neither of them have balls to freeze off, but they're going through a frozen river because Reek is like...
Because the cold never bothered them anyway.
Yeah, Reek is like, hey, the frozen river may be bad and all. Maybe we will die while trying to cross it, but that's better than being caught by those hounds and what will happen to us.
Yeah, pretty much.
So they make their escape. They go through the river. Everything seems like it's kind of working out for them. Not so well because the Bolton men show up with the hounds. Reek tries to kind of stand in their way. Sansa can't really get away, so they're captured. But in comes Brienne.
This is awesome.
Brienne of Tarth and Podrick. So
this was just badass. The way Brienne came in there and just handled those people with their asses.
I was hoping for a repeat of what we got last season, where she literally cut through somebody's sword and into them. I was hoping we'd get something kind of really cool like that again, which we didn't get, but it was still cool to see her take out all those people.
Very triumphant moment for Brienne. Not that she hasn't, she's been slaying it this entire time, but fresh off of killing Stannis Baratheon, she comes in roaring and just knocks these people on their asses, and she saves Sansa, and then she dedicates herself to Sansa.
We also got in that scene, before we go on to the ritual they did, was Reek ended up saving Podrick's life in kind of his second act of kind of courage since basically becoming Reek. So he's kind of having a hard time getting back to it, because it's hard to remember, but Reek, when he was Theon, was actually quite capable as a fighter, very good marksman with bow and arrow, and fully serviceable with a sword. But he's, as Reek, we just know him as this kind of cowardly mess that doesn't do anything. The truth is, Theon could have probably taken a bunch of those guys by himself when he was Theon, before he was Reek,
Right.
But he's, such a shell of his former self now. And so we're kind of seeing him kind of gaining strength again, and while also kind of trying to earn redemption for kind of all the fucked up stuff he's done. So he ends up saving Podrick's life. And, that's that.
Podrick. And that's that for that scene.
Awesome. Bran swears fealty to Sansa again. Sansa accepts this time. She gets a little bit of help from Podrick because she doesn't remember all of the words. There's ceremonial words they have to say, you will always have a place at my hearth, which was also kind of sad when she said that, because she doesn't have a hearth. That's Winterfell, that's gone, taken from her. So, but that ceremonial meaning of that, or you'll always have mead and meat at my table. There's this whole line of things that she has to say as a lord, and then things that Brienne has to say as a knight. And so we saw it before when Brienne pledged loyalty to Catelyn Stark. And so this is basically now Sansa finally doing it. So now Sansa has a knight. She has her first knight. So you think this means we're going to get some Sansa taking kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Taking charge of her situation, having some agency as a character.
I think this is Sansa having some agency over her situation now, which long overdue. I mean, this entire series she has not been, she's been the perpetual victim.
Yeah.
This entire series from the go.
It's unpopular to say because of like the way people reacted last season, but I think she kind of needed what happened to her to really turn around hard, because people had this whole idea last season about like, oh, Dark Sansa because she suddenly changed into a dark dress. And it's like, she's still not wise to the world. She still doesn't know like what the true nature of everything is. Like, she's seen Joffrey and how messed up he is and stuff, but she was still being somewhat protected from that by Cersei, even though he beat her and stuff. You know, it's like he wasn't having her raped and stuff. You know what I mean? There was still like a limit to what was happening to her. So I feel like the hell that she went through last season is going to contribute to what makes her ruthless this season in a way that she wouldn't have been otherwise.
Right, definitely. So I think from here on we'll finally see Sansa take control of her situation, especially with a capable fighter such as Brienne as her sworn knight.
Mm-hmm.
I think things might finally be turning around for Sansa, but who knows?
Also, in the trailer for this season, there were scenes with Brienne with a Tully banner behind her, and Tully is Catelyn Stark, her mom's Sansa's mom's. That's her house. So if Brienne is in Tully territory, then that looks like Sansa might be getting even more backup, which is really cool.
Yeah,
she might have her own army.
Yeah, that would be really cool. All right.
Let's go a little bit south. Let's go to King's Landing, and let's talk a little bit about Cersei and Jaime. So, did you feel bad for Cersei?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it's funny. I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, because I was thinking about the events. You can't talk about this scene without talking about Dorne and what's happening in Dorne. It's connected.
Don't talk about it too much yet. That's still coming up.
Well, this is like the big, this is one of the big plot points for the season where the season's headed. And you can't help but, and I was thinking about it earlier today, and I was thinking, the Lannisters actually look sympathetic now. I hate to say it, but they turned what was arguably the most hated people in the series and made them entirely sympathetic. Well, not entirely, but,
Yeah.
To the point. And I thought, because now I'm thinking, I'm looking at Cersei's pain, I'm looking at, like, Jaime's words, we'll take back, and I'm just like, yeah. You get those Dorne assholes.
I have a lot to say about that. Like, that's too down on my list.
And I'm like, wait, what? When did that happen? Oh, damn, this show.
I think it's because of who they're up against. Because who they're up against right now is the Dornish and the Faith Militant. They basically have religious extremists and, like, child murderers.
Yeah, and child
That's who they're up against. So we forget that Jaime's an attempted child murderer.
Yeah. The speech like Cersei was giving, too, about her daughter, that was it was very introspective, because she noted that her daughter was a very kind, loving person. And
she was aware of her own.
She was aware of her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was aware of her own, character quirks, like she's self-aware of how she is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That goes a long way towards building some sympathy for her. But I really liked just everything she was saying. Like, so when Jaime came in and was talking to her, and she said, do you remember the first dead body you saw? And they're talking about their mom. And she's saying, I just kept thinking, is her skin bloating? Is it turning black? Are her gums, or is her, lips receding on her gums? All these things that happen to a body as it rots. And then, like, thinking, like about how she's imagining the same thing happening to Marcella now.
Right.
And how, like, you know, and talking about the prophecy that Jaime clearly didn't know that she had this prophecy when she was a kid, told her that, like, all of her kids were going to die. But we got it this time, you know, like, he got it, and he's Jaime tells her, fuck prophecy. And so, yeah, you have this kind of idea of, you know, they're going to lash back out. So one of their targets that they're going to lash out against, from what we've seen already in scenes in the trailer, is the Faith Militant. And so that's the next part. This is like probably the smallest part, the most unnecessary part of the whole episode, I think, was the High Sparrow trying to get Margaery to confess. And before that, there was a Scepter trying to get her to confess. It was just looked like it was just about to start beating the shit out of Margaery. And then the High Sparrow came in, and Margaery's asking about her brother, and nobody's telling her anything. And then finally, he just says, you know, you need to confess. And she said, I don't have anything to confess to. And he says, so you're saying that you're perfect and shining in every way, and there's nothing you've ever done that's wrong. And by admitting that that's not the case, the High Sparrow says, well, you're on your first step.
Right.
Like admitting things.
Yep.
So the question is, if you look at the way Margaery kind of took that as like a bit of a revelation, you think this means Marjorie's going to drink the Kool-Aid?
I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens.
So yeah, we'll have to see what happens with that. That's the Faith Militant. That's it for King's Landing. We basically just had that stuff with Cersei and Jaime and the Faith Militant scene with Margaery. We didn't see anything about Loras yet. No. Nothing else in King's Landing. Let's go south. Let's go to Dorne.
All right, let's go to Dorne.
This is kind of the biggest stuff that happened.
Where nothing happened. Nothing happened.
So this starts off with Doran Martell, who's the leader of the city, and Ilaria, and they're talking, and they seem to finally be getting along after all this shit that's gone on between them. You know, they're kind of having this pleasant conversation. Doran's talking about how he's been jealous of his brother Oberyn, and how his brother was able to have this kind of life as an adventurer, and was able to go around, and he said, go all around the world and sleep with the most beautiful women. And of course, Illyria points out, and men. And he goes, yes, and men around the world. And then they're talking about the roles that they fit into, and how, he wouldn't be great as an adventurer. So he has to accept that wasn't his role. And Oberyn would not be good as a leader himself. But then all of that kind of like seeming like things are going well starts to come to an end when a messenger comes with the news about Marcella's fate.
Yeah.
And Doran kind of, instead of looking angry and stuff, I thought the scene was going to go in the complete opposite direction of where it went. I thought he was going to be really just irate, angry, was going to call his guards up, and was going to take out Ilaria. Kind of the opposite happened. Yeah, one of the sand snakes was standing behind Doran's guard, killed him, and then Illyria stabbed Doran right in the stomach, like right away, you know? And that was it for them. And as Doran's laying dying, he says, my son Tristan, and he said, your son is weak like you. Dorne will no longer be ruled by weak men.
Yep.
And then we get, Tristan, who's painting the stones for Marcella's eyes. That's where you put the eyes on the stones, and you put them on the dead body. That's what they do with that's like the burial ritual in Westeros. So right. He's in the process of painting the stones for Marcella as his betrothed who died. And two of the sand snakes come in, and he says, well, why are you here? And they're like, we're here to kill you. Yeah. And he thinks he's going to have a fair fight against one of them. He picks the one with the whip, who, by the way, the one with the whip is going to be in Iron Fist with Loras.
All right.
So she's going to be in that show. But the two of them come up. He's like, they're kind of circling each other, and quickly the other sand snake just impales him through the head with.
Yeah, that was the scene I was talking about. This is a good example of how Game of Thrones doesn't normally shy away from gory bits, so which was made it odd when they cut away from Stannis getting the sword, so to speak. So they clearly did cut away here. You saw it was pretty gory.
So that was kind of the big action we got this week in the episode.
That was the people dying of the episode.
But kind of like the biggest thing to talk about besides that on the show, the kind of more interesting stuff that's happening was up at the Wall. So we're going from the far south of Westeros to the far north of the Wall. And this is how the episode basically started too, which was it's kind of pulling in from the Wall into Castle Black, and you see Jon Snow's dead body, and you hear Ghost howling, like very mournfully howling.
Yeah.
And because of that, Davos comes out and ends up finding Jon's body. Yeah. And then quickly Jon's remaining friends in the Night's Watch also come out. And they see his body, and they take it inside. And they're quickly, Jon's friends are like, fuck Thorne, we're killing him. Yeah. And we're going to take out as many others as we can, and then we're going to end up dying.
Well, they're quickly trapped in this room with Jon's body, because now they can't leave. And what happens is the guy who killed Jon and took over the Night's Watch, he comes down there and he issues them an ultimatum, which is basically surrender and leave, or we're just going to kill you.
And Davos is great with the way he responds to that. Basically well, thank you for the offer, and we'll consult it between ourselves, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, we'll get back to you on that.
Such a courteous response, So, but before that happens, though, they get Ghost. Ghost is kind of locked in the kennel, and they bring Ghost in because Davos very wisely says, we don't have many of us here. We need all the fighting potential we can have. And then Direwolf isn't going to be bad.
Yeah.
So they're like, he's like, you've been with Ghost before. Ghost knows who you are and stuff. And he's like, yeah. So they get Ghost, and Ghost is now watching over Jon's body as well. Melisandre comes by as well, and already shaken, very humbled compared to how she was before.
Yeah.
Coming in very nice to Davos and very clearly out of it. Davos, of course, does not know yet that, she burned, his favorite little girl at the stake.
Yeah. That's gonna be something when that goes down.
But right now they're kind of allies, and, she sees Jon's body, and it even further, puts a damper on her faith, because she says that she saw Jon
him fighting at Winterfell.
Mm-hmm, in the flames.
So everything that she has come to believe, everything she had faith in, is seemingly crumbling down around her. She doesn't. Her faith is completely shaken. I don't think she even knows what to believe at this point, because Stannis is dead. The one guy she put all her faith in, and then after Stannis died, I think she started putting her faith into Jon Snow. I think that's why she went back to the Wall, because she started to sort of gravitate to Jon Snow, and now he's dead too, and so now she's completely lost. She has no idea what to believe, and that's the state that she is in at this point.
So yeah, and meanwhile, while all this is happening, Alistair Thorne is talking to all of the other members of the Night Watch, and he's like, Jon Snow is dead, and that other people in the Night Watch are all, who killed him? And Alistair Thorne admits that it was him, and the others stand up as well and admit it was them as well, and then basically he says, I had no love for Jon Snow, but that's not why I killed him. I killed him because I had to. He was going to ruin the Watch by letting in all of those illegal immigrants. He's all, I had this big, beautiful wall, and he just let them right through the door. All these illegal immigrants.
Yeah, pretty much. So basically he's Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's like, kill Jon Snow so we could make the Watch great again.
Yeah, exactly. So I can make the Watch great again. I'll build a wall and I'll make the wildlings pay for it.
And as is the case with scary Republican conventions where Donald Trump seems to just keep gaining traction, all the other people at the Night's Watch that were pissed off that Jon was dead are like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Oh yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Oh, well, you know. You're right.
So, yeah, so that's happening now. Davos ends up sending one of Jon's friends from the Night's Watch out to get the wildlings. They never say that specifically, but Davos wisely stops them from basically going on a suicide mission to kill Alistair Thorne and says, yes, you can get your revenge. That doesn't mean you all have to die. You're not the only ones that owe Jon Snow your life. And then one of Jon's friends, who was with him at Hardhome as well, one of his, few remaining friends, cause, two of them died at the wall in the big battle, and, in season 4, and, and so, some of his few remaining friends, basically there, one of them takes off and is presumably going to the wildlings to get support. So, that's gonna be kind of their attack on their own people, basically, for vengeance.
Yeah, for vengeance, basically, yes. For vengeance.
And then we get to the end of the episode, the last scene.
Now we get to some fantastic plot.
Yeah. So, Melisandre, looking very down, stands in front of a dull mirror, takes off her clothes. It's like,
and we do Game of Thrones, what Game of Thrones does best.
Melisandre naked.
Yeah.
So she's showing off her goods, and then she takes off the little kind of gem thing she always has around her neck that she's never taken off before, as far as we've seen. And it cuts, you see her hand, it cuts to that, and you see this kind of old hand kind of shaking. And it pulls back, and she's like this centuries-old hag.
What? What?
And she pulls her naked, graying, sagging body into bed. And it's just such a sad scene. It
is.
What did you take from the scene besides the grossness of it? Did it kind of make you a little sympathetic for her more?
No, what I took from the scene was I took from the scene she is completely defeated at this point. Like I say, she's lost. So for her taking off, the enchantment that makes her young and revealing her true self to herself, I guess. But her just going back to her true form just symbolizes that she is at her lowest point that she could ever be.
Yeah.
I think that's the takeaway. I think that's the meaning behind it, kind of a visual representation of what she's feeling.
Did it give you more sympathy for a character?
I think that's what that's meant to be more than anything. I think it gave you more sympathy for the character, yeah. I think the ordeal, because it was easy to go through and think, she's some evil manipulator, manipulating people for her own gain. But I think this really makes you realize that she was a true believer.
She had purpose in life.
She had purpose. She was a true believer in the Lord of Light and her religion. She wasn't using religion as a tool or an end for her own means. She was very, very devoutly believed what she did. It gives some context to her actions last season when she had Stannis' daughter killed. She was doing it because she so strongly believed in her faith, in the prophecies that she had been shown. That is why she did that, and not because not for any other reason. Pretty much.
She thought she was an instrumental part of the salvation of the world, basically.
Basically. And so now you see her, and and, like, everything, like, I really think after she saw Jon Snow's corpse, that's when she really just lost all hope. That's why we get that scene after that point, and not after Stannis dies, because she had transferred her hope in Stannis to Jon Snow, and then after he dies, which is pretty much immediately after, she just resigns completely.
So I want to address a few kind of little things that happened that we didn't get to over the whole course of the episode. And that's, we seem to be seeing a lot of forces converging towards the wall. So I wanted to bring up that Reek said to Sansa, when he was trying to kind of buy her time to get away, go north to the wall. Jon is Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. He'll help you. She doesn't know he's dead. He doesn't know he's dead.
No.
So that tells us that she might be heading in that direction. Now, even though she has Brienne now, that might be the direction she's heading.
It's hard. That might be the direction she's headed.
Not only that, but of course we already talked about how one of Jon's friends is going to bring the wildlings to attack the other people in the Night's Watch at Castle Black as well. And in the scene we had with the Boltons, Roose and Ramsay speculated that might be where Sansa's heading, is towards the wall, and they referenced the possibility of attacking Castle Black.
Right.
So we might be getting a huge storm kind of brewing right up north,
Oh yeah, definitely.
And we know in the trailers that we saw like wildlings fighting a Bolton army, and so there's also something's going to happen along those lines. Something's brewing. It might go up to Castle Black. It might meet halfway. Who knows? So
what did you think of this episode as a premiere?
Well, I wanted to go over a few more things real quick too before we get to that. But I was going to say we also got we have a war brewing in the South as well, because you have the Lannisters and the throne basically are going to be going to war against the Faith Militant, which we know from last season. But also now they're going to be in direct opposition to Dorne now. And they don't care about, respecting boundaries anymore. They're like, that's fucked, we're going after it. And Dorne doesn't care about holding the peace either.
So there's going to be a big war between the Lannisters and the Dorne.
So we're getting it up in the South and the North. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is that we did have two kind of major characters that we haven't seen this episode yet. Bran, who did show up in the preview for next week. So he's going to be in next week's episode, but we didn't see anything from him this week. And Littlefinger, who we know is probably going to have a lot of splaining to do to Sansa.
Yeah, you've got some splaining to do.
But that's kind of the last of the notes I want to go over. So I think as a premiere, to your question earlier, I liked it. It doesn't seem like a lot happens, but that's Game of Thrones. I mean, the first couple episodes, it's all setting up what's going to be happening. It's all
setting up what's going to happen. It's setting up the dominoes to watch them fall. So,
I mean, that being said, the Dorne stuff pretty much shocked me.
Yeah, the Dorne stuff shocked me too. I mean, that's a huge setup for some major action later in the season. So, yeah, I liked it. It was a good premiere, definitely.
Yeah, and so I believe that. Do you have anything else to say about it?
Nope.
Okay, so that's it then. Stay tuned next week. We're going to be talking about the next episode of Game of Thrones. And we're going to be doing that every week through the season. So stay tuned and watch those videos. You can also check out our podcast, our comic book show, which we're going to be recording right after this. And check out our newscast, which goes up on Fridays. So thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.